The galaxy was never truly quiet. Even in deep space, there was always movement, energy, and sound made of signals and light. Trade ships crossed long routes. Patrol fleets guarded borders. Explorers searched for new worlds. Noise filled the stars, even where life did not exist. But one distant sector, far from known lanes, suddenly went silent. Not the natural silence of empty space, but a heavy silence that made experienced crews uneasy. Sensors stopped reporting normal data. Long-range scans returned shadows where nothing should have been. It was as if space itself was holding its breath. A small alien exploration fleet was the first to enter the sector. They came from 3 different species, united by curiosity and profit. Their mission was simple: map empty space and move on. At first, their scanners showed nothing. Then the shadows appeared. Huge dark shapes blocked the light of distant stars. The computer tried to label them as planets, then failed. The sizes were wrong. The shapes were too perfect. The objects did not rotate. They did not breathe. They did not live. And yet, they were there. The fleet slowed down. Fear spread quietly across command decks. Experienced captains leaned closer to their screens. Some believed it was a sensor error. Others ordered manual checks. The results were the same every time. The shadows were solid, massive, unmoving. One ship moved closer, carefully, like a predator testing unknown ground. As distance closed, surface details appeared. Lines, layers, structures that followed patterns no natural world ever could. The realization hit them at the same time. These were not planets. They were made. Metal stretched across impossible distances. Cities could fit inside a single surface ridge. Entire fleets could hide within the shadow of one structure. And there was not just one. There were many, dozens, then hundreds, each one the size of a planet, each one silent. The exploration fleet froze in place. No one spoke. Fear turned into disbelief. Disbelief turned into panic. Messages were sent immediately to nearby systems. Emergency codes were activated. What they had found was beyond known technology. Within minutes, signals spread across the galaxy. Councils were alerted. Military leaders were pulled from sleep. Ancient records were searched. No race claimed ownership. No war archives mentioned weapons of such scale. The galaxy had rules, limits built by physics and history. This discovery broke all of them. The question spread faster than light. Who could build planet-sized starships? Before any answer arrived, the structures changed. Lights appeared across their surfaces. Faint at first, then brighter. Energy moved like slow rivers beneath metal skin. Gravity readings shifted. Something ancient was waking up. The alien fleet prepared to flee, but it was already too late. A transmission cut through all channels. It did not threaten. It did not shout. It was calm. Human. This region is under human survey. Please maintain distance. The bridge fell silent. Humans were young. Weak. That was the galaxy's belief. Humans were late to space travel. Their ships were small. Their fleets were limited. Their history was short. The idea that humans were connected to these structures felt impossible. Some captains laughed in disbelief. Others felt cold fear crawl through their bodies. They checked the signal again. It was real. Human origin. Clear and confident. More ships arrived. Not human warships. Science vessels. Survey platforms. Small ships compared to the giants sleeping in space. Human crews moved calmly, scanning the massive structures as if they were studying mountains, not gods. The contrast was terrifying. The galaxy watched humans stand beside planet-sized starships without fear. A galactic council fleet arrived hours later, heavily armed, prepared for war if needed. When they entered the sector, their weapon systems failed instantly, not destroyed, not hacked, simply turned off. A silent warning. No shots fired. No explosions. Just control taken away. The message was clear. Whoever controlled these structures did not need violence to win. Council leaders demanded answers. Humans responded slowly, carefully. They did not claim ownership. They did not boast. They explained only this. The ships were found, not built, hidden in dead space for millions of years, forgotten by history, ignored by scans because no one expected something so large to exist. Humans had noticed the absence, the strange quiet, the unnatural shadow. They had looked closer. The galaxy struggled to understand. Many races had passed near this region before. No one had seen anything. Humans had, not because they were stronger, not because they were smarter, but because they asked different questions. Where others searched for life, humans searched for silence. Where others feared emptiness, humans explored it. As the truth settled in, fear changed shape. These ships were ancient, powerful, beyond known limits. And humans were the first to reach them, the first to wake them, the first to stand beside them without panic. The galaxy realized something unsettling. Humanity did not shout about power. They did not demand respect. They simply acted. The shadows of the planet-sized starships loomed quietly over the watching fleets. Lights pulsed slowly, like hearts beating after a long sleep. And for the first time in galactic history, the balance of power shifted without a single battle. The galaxy understood that a line had been crossed. Humanity was no longer just another young species among the stars. They were standing at the edge of something ancient, and the galaxy could only watch in astonishment. The Galactic Council did not panic at first. Panic was for small empires and weak minds. The Council had ruled interstellar space for thousands of years. They had seen wars, extinctions, and false alarms before. When the first reports arrived about planet-sized structures, many Council members assumed it was a mistake. Faulty sensors, overactive explorers, exaggerated fear. That was the easy explanation, and the galaxy preferred easy explanations. Humans were mentioned in the reports, and that only increased the doubt. Humanity was still considered a developing species. Their space age was young. Their fleets were limited in number and size. Their political power was small compared to ancient empires. The idea that humans were connected to a discovery of this scale felt almost insulting to older races. Some council members openly laughed. Others quietly dismissed the reports and moved on to more important matters. But the reports did not stop. More fleets entered the silent sector. More scans returned the same impossible data. The shadows were real. The structures were real. Entire task forces confirmed the same measurements. Each object was as large as a planet. Some were larger. They were arranged with purpose, not randomly. This was not a natural graveyard. This was a fleet, an ancient one, and humans were already there. The Council finally voted to send an official verification fleet, not explorers, not traders. A fully armed Council armada, representing combined power of the galaxy. Their mission was simple: confirm the discovery and secure control if needed. They did not expect resistance. Humans were not known for defiance, at least not on this scale. When the armada arrived, disbelief turned into silence. The structures filled the void ahead of them. No image, no report, no simulation had prepared them for the true scale. Each starship blocked stars like a moving world. Their surfaces were layered with metal older than recorded history. Deep channels ran across them like scars. Towers and ridges rose high enough to cast shadows across entire fleets. The armada slowed without orders. Even hardened commanders struggled to process what they were seeing. Human ships floated near the giants like insects beside mountains. There were no massive human fleets, no signs of conquest, only research vessels, maintenance platforms, and quiet observation ships. Humans moved carefully, respectfully, as if they were guests, not owners. That behavior confused the Council more than any threat would have. If humans controlled these ships, why were they not using them? Why were they not demanding power? The Council demanded answers. A human delegation responded. No weapons displayed. No threats given. Their message was calm, controlled, and clear. Humanity had not built the ships. They had discovered them during deep space surveys. The region had always been avoided because of strange readings and empty scans. Humans noticed that emptiness was not natural. They investigated. They found the fleet. The Council accused them of hiding the truth. Humans denied it. They shared data logs, timelines, and sensor history. Everything matched. The discovery was recent, very recent. Humanity had simply arrived first. That answer was unacceptable to many. Older races had scanned the galaxy for thousands of years. Their technology was advanced. Their knowledge was vast. How could humans, newcomers to space, find something no one else had seen? The question burned through the council chambers. Some accused humans of lying. Others accused them of theft. A few accused them of awakening something dangerous. Humans listened. Then they showed the council something else. They showed them failed scans. Old scans. Scans from ancient empires that had passed through the same sector. Every scan showed nothing. Empty space. Silence. The ships had been there all along, hidden by technology beyond known science. Not invisible. Simply ignored. The systems filtered them out as impossible data. Humans did not ignore them. The reason was simple. Human exploration tools were designed differently. Where advanced civilizations filtered out anomalies to reduce noise, humans studied anomalies first. Where others trusted their machines completely, humans questioned them. The ships were not invisible. They were labeled as errors. Humans chose to look closer. The council had no answer to that. As discussions continued, tension rose. Military commanders watched the planet-sized ships carefully. They demanded tests. They wanted to know if the ships could move, if they could fire, if they could destroy entire fleets. Humans hesitated, not out of fear, but caution. They explained that the ships were not fully understood. Some systems responded. Others remained silent. The technology was ancient, complex, and dangerous if misused. The council did not like uncertainty. Without warning, one council ship attempted an unauthorized scan pulse. A powerful one. The response was instant. One of the giant ships shifted slightly. Space bent around it. The scan vanished. The council ship lost all power and drifted helplessly. No damage. No explosion. Just silence. The message was clear. The ships were not dead. Fear spread through the armada. This was not human power. This was something far greater. Humans were simply standing between it and the galaxy. The realization made many uncomfortable. If humans were the first to interact with this fleet, then they were also the first line of control, or the first line of defense. The council demanded humans step away from the ships. Humanity refused, not aggressively, not proudly. They refused because they believed stepping away would be dangerous. They explained that the ships reacted best to calm interaction, to patience, to gradual engagement. Sudden control attempts caused unpredictable responses. Humans had already lost probes, drones, and weeks of progress by rushing. That explanation scared the galaxy more than any threat. These ships were not tools waiting for owners. They were systems waiting for understanding. And humans were the only ones willing to take the time. As the meeting ended, the council realized something they did not want to accept. Humanity had not claimed the greatest discovery in history. They had been given responsibility for it. The galaxy could not force them away. It could not take control without risking destruction, and it could not ignore the truth any longer. The discovery was real. The ships were real, and humanity stood at the center of it all. The galaxy no longer laughed. It watched, and it waited. The galaxy could not understand it. The ships were ancient, silent, and impossibly large. They had ignored commands, rejected scans, and disabled advanced fleets without effort. Older civilizations had knowledge built over thousands of years. Yet none of them could explain why humans were able to interact with the ships while everyone else failed. The council debated endlessly, but no theory fully answered the question. The truth was not found in technology alone. It was found in how humans thought. Humans were not born into comfort or control. Their home world was small and fragile. It faced storms, earthquakes, diseases, and extinction-level events. Survival was never guaranteed. From the beginning, humans learned to adapt instead of dominate. They built tools not to rule nature, but to understand it. When something did not work, they tried again. When systems failed, they questioned them. That mindset followed them into space. When humans first found a silent sector, their instruments gave strange results. Empty readings, impossible mass values, shadows that made no sense. Human crews did not erase the data or mark it as an error. They recorded it. They argued about it. They returned to it again and again. Curiosity pushed them forward, not confidence. That curiosity led them closer to the truth. The first human probe sent toward the ships did not survive. It shut down the moment it entered the shadow of the nearest structure. Many species would have stopped there. Humans did not. They studied the failure. They adjusted power levels, signal patterns, and approach angles. They slowed down. Each failure taught them something small but important. Humans also did something no other species considered. They listened. Instead of forcing communication, they sent passive signals, soft signals, patterns based on mathematics, physics, and natural rhythms. No commands, no demands, just presence. The ships responded slowly, not with words, but with changes. Energy flows shifted. Gravity fields stabilized. Systems reacted differently when humans approached calmly instead of aggressively. The galaxy watched in confusion as human teams spent weeks doing nothing but observing. They waited. They measured small changes. They respected distance. Where others saw wasted time, humans saw progress. They had learned long ago that rushing unknown systems often caused disasters. Their own history was full of warnings. Another difference was fear. Humans felt fear, but they did not let it control them. They accepted danger as part of discovery. They had crossed oceans without knowing what waited beyond the horizon. They had split atoms without fully understanding the consequences. Space exploration was simply another step in that long pattern. The ships were terrifying, but they were also a mystery, and humans had always chased mysteries. The ships themselves seemed to recognize this. As human presence increased, dormant systems began to activate, not fully, not violently, just enough to show awareness. Power nodes awakened. Internal structures shifted slowly. Massive engines hummed at the lowest possible level. The ships were not reacting to commands. They were reacting to behavior. The galaxy's scientists began to realize something uncomfortable. These ships were not designed to be controlled like weapons. They were designed to be trusted. Human psychology matched that requirement by accident, not design. Humans expected systems to fail. They expected danger. They planned for mistakes. Other species expected obedience from technology. When it failed, they forced it harder. The ships rejected force. Human engineers made another crucial choice. They limited themselves. They placed restrictions on their own access. They refused to activate full systems without understanding them. They refused to test weapons, even when the Council demanded proof. That restraint impressed the ships more than any display of power. Slowly, interfaces responded, not screens or controls, but concepts. Gravity corridors adjusted when humans moved through them. Internal environments shifted to human tolerance ranges. Energy output stabilized around human safe levels. The ships were adapting to humans, not the other way around. That terrified the galaxy. If the ships were choosing humans, then humanity was not just compatible. They were preferred. The reason became clear as more systems awakened. The ships were ancient guardians, built to protect life across the galaxy. Their creators had vanished long ago, but their purpose remained. They were designed to evaluate species before granting access. Aggression failed. Greed failed. Impatience failed. Only curiosity, restraint, and cooperation passed the test. Humans did not even know they were being tested. They treated the ships like ruins, not prizes. Like teachers, not tools. That humility unlocked systems no weapon ever could. The galaxy realized that humans had not hacked the ships. They had earned their trust. As weeks passed, human teams learned to guide limited movements. One ship shifted positions slightly. Another adjusted its orientation. None of it was forced. Each change required time, discussion, and careful behavior. Humans argued among themselves, debated risks, and voted on decisions. That process, slow and imperfect, matched the ship's expectations. The Council watched all of this with growing fear and respect. Humanity was not stronger than the galaxy. Not yet, but they were something else. They were compatible with ancient power in a way no one had predicted. They did not rush to rule. They chose to understand. The ships responded. By the end of the observation period, one truth became impossible to deny. Humans understood the ships not because of superior technology, but because of mindset. They were patient in a galaxy built on speed, careful in a universe obsessed with control, curious in a civilization that feared the unknown. The galaxy had spent ages searching for power. Humanity had searched for meaning, and in doing so, they had become the only species capable of standing beside planet-sized starships without fear, without greed, and without shame. The ships remained silent giants, but their silence was no longer empty. It was waiting. The change did not happen slowly. It happened all at once. Across the galaxy, fear spread like fire through dry air. News of humanity's growing connection to planet-sized starships reached every empire, every alliance, and every hidden power. At first, leaders tried to stay calm. Then reports confirmed that the ships were responding only to humans. That was when calm collapsed. Emergency meetings were called everywhere. Ancient rivals sat together in the same chambers. Military leaders demanded answers. Scientists argued. Politicians shouted. No one trusted anyone anymore. If humans truly controlled the ships, then the balance of power was already broken. If they did not, then something far worse was happening. Either answer terrified the galaxy. Some empires chose fear. They believed humanity would eventually use the ships as weapons. They believed history would repeat itself. Young species always reached for power when it appeared. They pointed to human wars, human weapons, human mistakes. They demanded immediate action. Others argued for patience, but their voices were drowned out. Panic was louder than reason. Fleets began to move. From every direction, warships gathered near the silent sector. Not one united force, but many separate armadas, each afraid the others would strike first. Space filled with tension. Weapons charged. Shields rose. Old treaties were forgotten overnight. The galaxy was preparing for a war no one wanted, but no one could stop. Humans watched this build-up with growing concern. They sent messages asking for calm. They explained again that the ships were not weapons, that full systems were still locked, that forcing control could cause disaster. Many listened. Many did not. Fear had already made its choice. The first mistake came from an empire known for its strength. Their commander believed showing power would force humans to step aside. A massive fleet entered the sector without permission. They ignored warnings. They activated weapon locks. They targeted one of the planet-sized ships. Nothing happened at first. Then space shifted. The targeted ship moved slightly. Not fast, not aggressively, but enough. Gravity twisted around it. Energy surged across its surface. The attacking fleet's weapons shut down instantly. Engines failed. Communication collapsed. Hundreds of ships drifted helplessly, trapped by invisible forces. No explosions. No deaths. Just complete control. The galaxy froze. That moment changed everything. The ships had not attacked. They had responded. Calmly. Precisely. As if correcting a mistake. The message was clear. Violence was unnecessary. Resistance was pointless. Panic deepened into terror. More fleets arrived anyway. Fear does not stop easily once it begins. Some empires believed numbers would protect them. Others believed speed would. Some planned secret strikes. Others prepared defensive formations. The silent sector became crowded with warships, all pointing weapons at shadows the size of worlds. Humans stood between them. Human ships moved into visible positions, small compared to the giants behind them, fragile compared to the armadas ahead. Yet they did not retreat. Human leaders addressed the galaxy openly. Their words were steady, but firm. They warned that the ships were reacting to aggression. That panic was making everything worse. That continued pressure could wake systems no one understood. Many did not listen. A second mistake followed. A coalition fleet attempted to surround one of planet-sized ships. They believed cutting it off would limit its response. The result was immediate. Space around the ship hardened. No vessel could move closer. No weapon could fire. Time itself seemed slower within the field. The The fleet was trapped, alive but powerless. The galaxy realized something horrifying. These ships did not need humans to fight. They were capable of stopping entire armadas alone. Humans were not shields. They were restraints. That truth spread fear even faster. Markets collapsed. Trade routes closed. Refugees fled border systems. Some empires prepared evacuation plans for entire worlds. Others armed ancient weapons they had sworn never to use again. The galaxy was not panicking because humans were strong. It was panicking because humans were the only thing preventing catastrophe. Humanity felt the weight of that responsibility. Internally, they argued. Some believed stepping away would prove their innocence. Others believed staying was the only safe option. Scientists warned that sudden absence might trigger unknown responses. Engineers warned that emotional reactions from the ships were possible. No one knew what full awakening would look like. Still, humans stayed. As fleets crowded the sector, the ships reacted more often. Small movements, energy fluctuations, defensive fields adjusting automatically. The galaxy mistook these changes for preparation. Rumors spread that the ships were charging weapons, that humans were arming them in secret. None of it was true, but panic did not care about truth. The Galactic Council lost control. Individual leaders made their own decisions. Some ordered attacks that never happened. Others ordered retreats that caused collisions and chaos. Communication lines filled with shouting and threats. The galaxy was tearing itself apart without a single shot fired. Humans made a final decision. They broadcast a message to every known system. It was not a warning. It was a plea. They explained the truth as clearly as possible. The ships were guardians, defensive by nature. Aggression triggered responses. Calm slowed them. Cooperation stabilized them. Humanity was not in control. Humanity was negotiating. That word changed everything. Negotiating meant the ships were aware, alive in some way. The idea terrified the galaxy, but it also forced reflection. If these ships could choose, then violence was the worst possible answer. Slowly, some fleets powered down weapons. Others followed. The tension did not vanish, but it eased. Space stopped shaking. The ships responded. Energy levels dropped. Movement slowed. The silent giants returned to stillness. Humanity remained in place, exhausted but determined. They had not saved the galaxy. Not yet, but they had stopped it from destroying itself. As the dust settled, one truth stood clear above all others. The galaxy had panicked because it feared losing control. Humanity had not panicked because they had never believed control was guaranteed. And now, every species understood the same thing. If humanity ever stepped aside, the galaxy would face the ships alone. And that thought was more frightening than any war. When the panic finally slowed, the galaxy demanded answers. Not rumors, not guesses. Truth. The Galactic Council reopened its chambers, this time without shouting or threats. Fear had exhausted them. Entire fleets had been frozen in space without a single shot fired. Ancient empires had been humbled by silent machines older than history. Everyone understood now that ignorance was the real danger. Humans were invited to speak. For the first time, humanity shared everything they knew. Not pieces, not safe parts. Everything. They revealed data gathered from the ships, patterns observed over months, and the slow awakening that followed human interaction. What they revealed changed the way the galaxy understood the ships forever. The planet-sized starships were not war machines. They were guardians. Long before current civilizations rose, the galaxy had faced a threat beyond imagination. Not an empire, not a species. Something vast, patient, and destructive. It did not conquer worlds. It erased them. Entire systems vanished without warning. The creators of the ships had fought it and realized a terrible truth. No single species could survive alone. No fast response could stop it. Only preparation, unity, and guardianship could delay extinction. So they built the ships, not as weapons of conquest, but as shields of last defense. Each ship was designed to protect life, stabilize space, and stop threats without destroying civilizations. They were programmed to wait, to observe, to judge, and only respond when the galaxy was ready. When a species appeared that valued life more than power, the creators never returned. They vanished, leaving the ships behind. The Guardians slept, hiding themselves from aggressive civilizations that would misuse them. They filtered scans. They erased themselves from history. They waited for the right minds, not the strongest hands. Humans fit the pattern, not because they were perfect, but because they were flawed and aware of it. Humans argued. Humans doubted. Humans feared their own power. Their history was full of mistakes, but also lessons. They built laws to limit themselves. They questioned authority. They feared weapons as much as they built them. That balance mattered. The ships had sensed this. They did not respond to commands or force. They responded to restraint, to cooperation, to patience. Humans did not try to dominate the ships. They tried to understand them. That was enough. The galaxy listened in stunned silence as this truth unfolded. Every panic, every mistake, every frozen fleet suddenly made sense. The ships had not reacted to humans. They had reacted to the galaxy's fear. They were doing exactly what they were designed to do: prevent destruction before it began. One council member asked the question everyone feared. Was the ancient threat still coming? Human scientists answered honestly. They did not know, but the ships had begun to wake because the signs were returning. Space distortions, energy echoes, dead zones appearing where stars should burn. The Guardians were not activating for no reason. That truth shook the galaxy. The panic had been a test, and the galaxy had almost failed it. If humans had not stood between fear and action, the ships might have fully activated. And full activation was something no one wanted to witness without understanding the cost. These Guardians could protect life, but only by enforcing strict limits. Entire fleets could be shut down, entire systems locked. Freedom would shrink in exchange for survival. Humans did not want that future. They revealed their final decision. Humanity would not claim ownership of the ships. They would act as caretakers, guides, and mediators. They would continue learning. They would continue slowing the awakening. And when the time came, they would stand with the galaxy, not above it. That offer changed everything. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans not as competitors, but as protectors. Not rulers, but bridges. Empires that once mocked humanity now depended on their judgment. The power balance had not shifted into human hands. It had shifted into human responsibility. Some species struggle with that idea. Pride does not fade easily. But the evidence was undeniable. Without humans, the galaxy would already be under Guardian lockdown. Freedom existed because humans chose caution over control. The ships responded to this choice. Energy levels stabilized. Defensive systems lowered. Internal movements slowed. The Guardians were listening not just to humans, but through them, the galaxy had been given a chance to prepare together. As the council session ended, no one celebrated. There was no victory, only understanding. The truth was heavy. Survival would require unity, patience, and trust in a species that had once been considered weak. Humanity did not smile. They knew the cost. They had discovered the greatest power in galactic history, only to realize it was not meant to be used lightly. The Guardians were not a gift. They were a warning, a final line against extinction. And now, that line passed through human hands. The galaxy watched in silence, no longer in fear, but in realization. Humanity had not risen because they were the strongest. They had risen because they were willing to protect even those who doubted them. The truth had been revealed, and nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy did not return to normal after the truth was revealed. Normal no longer existed. Empires slowed their expansion. Fleets reduced patrols. Borders softened. For the first time in known history, the galaxy began to think together instead of apart. Fear had shown them how close they were destroying themselves. Humanity had shown them another path. The Galactic Council changed its structure. Decisions were no longer made only by the oldest or strongest species. Humanity was given a permanent seat, not as a ruler, but as a mediator. Many resisted at first. Pride does not disappear easily. But the silence of the planet-sized starships hovering in deep space reminded everyone of reality. Power no longer came from weapons alone. It came from restraint. Humans accepted the role carefully. They did not celebrate. They did not build monuments. They returned to their work, studying, listening, learning. They knew the ships were watching, not judging words, but actions. Every choice mattered now, not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. The Guardians remained mostly still. They did not move into formation. They did not activate weapons. They stayed where they were, silent giants in the dark, like stars that refuse to shine until needed. Their presence alone changed everything. Wars became harder to justify. Aggression became risky. Cooperation became necessary. Human teams continued their slow interaction with the ships. Progress was careful and limited. No shortcuts were taken. No systems were forced. Each small success was shared openly with the galaxy. Humans refused to keep secrets. They understood that secrecy had nearly destroyed trust before. Transparency became their shield. Other species began to learn from humans, not their technology, but their methods. Younger civilizations adopted slower exploration practices. Older empires questioned old habits. Scientists from different races worked together, something that had been rare before. The galaxy was changing, not because it was forced to, but because it had seen what fear could do. The ancient threat remained unknown. Signs appeared and faded. Strange readings were detected at the edges of space, then vanished. No one knew when the Guardians would be needed. But for the first time, the galaxy was preparing together instead of reacting alone. Humans carried a heavy weight. Some among them feared their role. Others doubted they deserved it. Humanity argued, as they always had, but they moved forward anyway. They had learned long ago that doubt did not mean weakness. It meant awareness. As years passed, the galaxy's view of humanity changed completely. Humans were no longer called young or weak. They were called steady, trusted, dangerous in the quiet way that mattered, not because they held power, but because they refused to abuse it. One by one, alien fleets stopped circling the silent sector. Trade routes reopened. Refugees returned home. Life continued. The Guardians remained, unseen by most, but felt by all. They were no longer symbols of fear. They were reminders. Humanity found its place among the stars, not at the top, but at the center, a place where listening mattered more than commanding, where patience was stronger than force, where survival meant protecting even those who once stood against you. The galaxy watched humanity closely now, not with suspicion, but with expectation. When difficult choices came, eyes turned toward human space. When conflict rose, humans were asked to speak first, not because they demanded it, but because they had earned it. And humanity never forgot the lesson. They remembered how close everything came to ending before it truly began. They remembered the silence of the ships, the frozen fleets, the panic that nearly destroyed the galaxy. They remembered that power without understanding was the fastest path to extinction. The planet-sized starships remained quiet, their purpose fulfilled for now. They had found what they were waiting for. Not a perfect species, not a powerful empire, but a civilization willing to grow, to doubt, and protect life beyond itself. As stars burned and faded across the galaxy, one truth became permanent. Humanity was no longer just part of the universe. They were part of its balance. And somewhere in the endless dark, the Guardians watched, not in judgment, but in trust.